Welcome everyone, my name is Dr. AJ Acierno and I am the CEO of DecisionOne Dental. During this pandemic, we have taken the opportunity to virtually meet every morning with all our team members. The idea is to inspire, to grow, and to learn. During that time, we have interviewed multiple people in order to help us do that. So I hope you can be inspired and you can grow by listening to these wonderful people. Thank you.
Okay, so the last stop of this show. Now, it's also the furthest away, but I'm not out of gas, neither is the lacrosse. Facebook viewers have spoken up once again. People like Grace Herrera, Amy Lynn, and others have said, you gotta go to Crystal Lake, to Nick's Pizza and Pub. Great thin crust pizza, cute kids, a big barn door. It's really not that heavy. Nick's Pizza and Pub has been tossing their award-winning thin crust pizzas around Crystal Lake for more than 15 years.
It's to die for. Yeah, it's so good. It's the best pizza I've ever had. It's great.
We think Nick's has got the best combination of flavors and presentation.
Our purpose is to create the Nick's experience. Our dedicated family provides this community an unforgettable place to connect with your friends and family, to have fun, and to feel at home.
I actually kind of feel like I'm in the great outdoors and I'm about to eat the old 96er.
Yes, yeah.
How long did it take to build this place?
It took me about 10 months.
That's it?
Yeah.
It's ginormous, man. Yeah. All right, I have to ask you about this, though. What's with the taxidermy, bro? What is with all the animals?
Well, I'm not a hunter, but I thought, it would be good decoration. See?
Why not?
Yeah.
Sure, Nick's home of great pizza and dead animals. I suddenly have the taste for mozzarella. What's best here is the super thin crust. They make 600 pounds of this stuff fresh every day. Today we're making the Nick's Special. The cracker-like crust is loaded with special sauce and exactly 60 pieces of sausage. Then cheese, onions, green peppers, and oregano. Nick says it all must be done in 60 seconds. No sweat.
Ready, set, go. You're almost there. Wait a second. Wait, I left it.
Done! Great job. Now just put it in the oven, I'm hungry. Even more challenging is the almighty double-decker. One layer of crust is loaded with fillings, cheese, and sauce, topped with another layer of crust. Wait a minute, what's going on here?
This is the rolling technique. It's like,
man, am I glad I didn't have to make this pizza.
Yeah,
I haven't seen anything rolled that nicely since college. And it's like a deep dish pizza, but without all the dough.
more cheese.
Because all that dough just fills you up. I eat one piece of stuffed pizza, and I'm done.
Yeah.
This I could probably eat half the pie, at least. Let me see that. Whoa! That's nice, man. That's a lot of food.
Just think that whole thing in your belly.
This thing's denser than I am. Pizza's the main attraction here, but Nick's is not just about the food. What's also best about this joint is the experience. I mean, this place is nuts. You don't have to clean up or anything at all.
It's on the floor.
Yeah, no cleanup whatsoever, right?
My kids love it here. They can purposely throw the food on the floor.
Seriously. There are peanut shells everywhere.
It's part of the fun. Have free peanuts and then have fun and make a mess.
Well, I can do that. I can eat, I can drink, and I can make a mess. Whether it's the thin crust, which is nice and crispy with just a little bit of chewiness, or this double-decker, it's kind of hard to go wrong. Bring the family, go nuts, throw peanuts on the floor, drink beer, drink pop, do whatever you want. Talk to the animals, right?
Yeah, that happens.
It does happen. Especially after people spend some time in the pub. But we're not there right now. If you think you got a better place, let us know. ChicagosBestTV.com, Facebook, Twitter, it's all right there. Nick, thanks, man.
Thank you.
Salute.
That was fun. Thank you.
Welcome, Nick. How are you, man? So
Good.
glad to have you part of the program this morning. And Nick, for everybody on here, not only do you guys, of course, I'm starving right now watching that. And not only do you have one of the staple pizza places in Chicago, but you are a major leader, culture organizer. You are an entrepreneur. The things that you have done is pretty amazing. I will tell a little story. I haven't told you this, and I want to save it for this, but the first dental practice that we have ever bought out of DecisionOne was brokered in your pizza place. So our first practice that we bought was out in Cary, And we went for pizza with the owner of that dental practice at your place. And that is where we started technically DecisionOne out of your pizza place. So it's a little nostalgia when I go by there.
Wow, that's
and
really
have
cool.
some pizza there.
Yeah, that's a really
So,
cool story.
Well, Nick, welcome. Hey, listen, you've been doing some really unbelievable things in your restaurant, and really have been able to pivot out of this COVID crisis and stuff like that. So I just wanted to hear a little bit about that and what you've done and how you've made that transition happen.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that fun introduction. It was a lot of fun. One thing I just want to add too, if anybody is interested in the book that I wrote about how to build a big little business, the fun part about the book is I actually use stories from our team in Crystal Lake and Elgin to illustrate, some of the things that we talk about and we teach and stuff. So I was just thinking it's kind of a funny connection there that folks that live in the area would connect with and probably enjoy. Yeah, I would say, yeah, I mean, it might be too early to say that we're totally out of the woods yet for this crisis. We've definitely done some really cool things. I think they're cool because there are big challenges and we've gotten through them. We're transforming and adapting, quickly. Some things, I'm a big fan of, especially if you have more than one location. Right, training is always important. So I have a whole process. Like before we do make a change, we always, go through it. We put training in place first, and then we change it. These days, it's like change and train at the same time. Because you got to move fast. So, I lost your sound there.
Oh, sorry. What's the most important thing, Nick, that you had to do coming out of this? It's all of a sudden now your restaurant's closed down. It's all carry out. It's moving to that position. What did you guys have to do, and how did you have to train differently in order to make that happen?
Well, I think the first number one thing was communicate. Communicate really, to our team. I just see it as two tracks, right? I really paid attention with myself and our leadership team that we had one track, consistent communication with our team, and one track of consistent communication with our customers, we call guests, right? They were similar, they had a little different focus. And so that was the most important thing, that we pay attention to it. We did it often, and we were very transparent in every way about the challenges, about the finance, and about how, we need whatever help we need from each one of those. And the other thing was, I talked to our team and I said, we need a mindset shift because our business is going to have to pivot from being, 80% full service restaurants to 100% carry out and delivery, which has now actually turned out to curbside and delivery, So that mindset shift to kind of full service to more of a manufacturing kind of production mindset was a big part of it. And then we said, okay, roll up our sleeves and, let's really pay attention to what's working. And I jumped in and Ranch, was back in making pizzas and pulling the ovens myself, up until recently, also trying to see, okay, where could I give the team hours? And, at first it was slow, it was real arduous. And then we, then as we developed the curbside process and developed our model and actually started to create a new part of the business, then we were able to actually bring servers and bartenders and hosts back on to actually help with the curbside stuff. So does that answer your question, kind of?
Yeah, that actually very well. Hey, Nick, I got to ask you this question, and there's a reason behind it. But do you by chance follow what Disney is doing right now?
What's it called?
What Disney.
Oh, Disney. No, I haven't been.
All right. So we had the head of operations on from Disney, the former head of operations, and I think great leaders think alike, and this is a lot of kudos to you because what you just said about communication with your team members, a very clear path, and your customer is exactly what every single, major leader has talked about on this program. And we didn't even talk about that. I think it's pretty amazing. It says a lot about you, and it says a lot about what you got going on there. One of the other things that I've heard you speak in the past about is that we've had, we had an analogy of culture is like you put a lot into the bank, and then when tough times happen, you're going to start, you deposit a lot, and now you're going to take a lot out. You have another saying on that, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about that and your culture piece, because the culture that you have driven at your restaurant is amazing, and your team members and their loyalty to you and what they do is pretty amazing. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that. And in times like this, how does that change?
Yeah, I think I'm glad that you mentioned I am very fortunate. We have a really strong team, and to your point about a loyal team, I mean, the restaurant industry typically sees about 100 to 150% turnover, and we have less than 25% turnover. So we do have a pretty loyal team. They stick with us, and that's really because of the culture, our attention to paying attention to being intentional about the culture we want to create, being explicit about it. When we went through the recession, the Great Recession, is where it really dawned on me. I was doing this. I really started. When I hired my consultant Rudy Mick, who became my mentor. That's when in 2002 is when I defined our purpose and defined our values. And I'd been in business for 7 years at that time. And really the culture was me, like a lot of founders, right? I mean, it's as long as I'm there, which I was there a lot, so it was okay. But I had to, culture a lot of times is like some key people until it gets defined. And once I defined it in 2002, wow, that really made a difference. And then and I had been doing open books as well, but then around 2006, I found The Great Game of Business, and that's an open books process, from the book The Great Game of Business and Jack Stack, and so I went to their conferences a few years in a row. So I added that, that transparency, with the open books and purpose and values, all those things, how people get raises and things, was part of the culture that, I just was doing because I thought it was the right thing to do. I care about my people, and I wanted to have that, I wanted to have a fulfilling, meaningful place to work. Well, when the recession hit and, we went through that really tough time, just as we were trying to expand, so it was really hard. That's when it dawned on me, because, 2011, I actually had to write a letter to help people. I thought we were going to go out of business. And then I found out by the big response we got from not only from our team, but also from our community, that it's like, wow, all these things I've been doing with our culture and paying attention to our people and the community, the fundraisers we're doing in the community, these are all culture things that we are really explicit about, intentional about, had programs around, just like articulating the values. It was all like an insurance plan. When we really needed it, wow, did that really make a difference for helping us get through a crisis? And that's what I'm seeing now as well. Huge insurance plan. And I would say I like the bank metaphor. I said, but I don't know that I'm actually taking a withdrawal during a crisis. I actually think it's such a, the way the team comes together and we're having meetings about how to get through this together and the team is involved, it's like almost a bigger deposit than ever, because when we get on the other side of a crisis and we know that we did this together, it's like it's a huge morale boost. So that's, I think, the nuance, maybe a little bit of a difference between a bank and the insurance metaphor, but
yeah.
It's important work,
No, it's terrific. Nick, where do you see, I mean, I know no one can tell the future or anything like that, but your gut reaction in the restaurant world and what's happening and what the difference is going to be coming out of this crisis, and once restaurants are able to open back up, what do you see the difference being? And how are you guys trying to prepare for that? I know, again, you can't guess, but how are you guys trying to prepare for that? Because you are a family-oriented business. I mean, the times that I've gone in there, the amount of families in there and sports teams and stuff like that are in there is amazing. So how are you guys changing that?
Yeah, well, I do think, I mean, I believe you guys are probably doing the same thing. I think we have to guess. We have to make educated guesses. I mean, it's our role to I mean, the team is doing all the great work in the moment. As leaders, we're the ones who have to try to look around the corner and be prepared, financially, culture-wise, product-wise, all those things. We need to do that, so as uncertain as times are, we're doing our best to try and see around the corner, see what's happening. So I think what I do is that, I really pay attention. I'm hypersensitive to human behavior, and I really try to pay attention to where stress is. We're for us, it's mostly families, moms, right? And where's their stressors? Where's their concerns? And so I think even as we open back up in as a full service restaurant, it doesn't matter at some level. It doesn't matter what the government says, what the politicians say about when we could open up. What matters most is when do people feel that they have enough trust and safety that they'll actually go to a business, right? So how do we build that? And so I think that's what full service restaurants are going to have to do. We're talking about how we're going to manage like people coming in the door, manage the amount of people that come in the door, provide masks and gloves and sanitizer, and then I think we have a little bit of a benefit because of our full, what our restaurants look like right inside. So we have walls in between sections, so we could we'll be able to separate people out. We're talking about the one row where there isn't really walls, we're going to put maybe plastic between those, so we could space people out. A 350 seat restaurant might only be a 100 seat restaurant now at first, as we phase in. And then the other thing that we're talking about is dinner hour is usually where restaurants, the only way they survive is through Friday and Saturday dinners, So one thing I've been just thinking about, and this is just a brainstorm idea, but how do we maybe discount, full price, just like the airlines do, I guess, right? Full price during the dinner hour, maybe a little discount on the shoulders of the dinner hour, and then more of a discount outside of that to kind of even out, the flow more, is another thing that we're thinking about.
Great idea.
So, yeah,
that's awesome. That's a great idea. So, Nick, the similarities between dentistry and the restaurant business is uncanny, right? And I think a lot of businesses, of course. Your guys' takeout and carry out now is kind of like our emergency only, seeing only emergencies, and then trying to work back into it and guessing what it's going to be like and stuff like that. In our field, we've had to increase cost based on the fact that PPE and all our protective gear now that we have to wear and so on and so forth, which unfortunately gets passed off to the patient or the insurance companies on that. In the restaurant business, have you guys had to increase cost based on the carryout and based on the curbside check-in and the differences that you guys had to?
Yeah, not really. I think in listening to a lot of restaurateurs and stuff, I mean our cost of goods is perhaps even less now. But our volume is down. We're doing 1/3 the volume of 350 seat restaurants. So the margin on the cost of goods is still the same, perhaps slightly better. We're not a huge bar business, so we didn't have a ton of profit on people's drinks. That wasn't drinks supplemented the family business. But what's a blessing is that our lease, on our rent, our mortgages, we got a deferment on those, the forbearance, until we get on the other side of this crisis. we've applied for the PPP money. So all that stuff is, pending. If we had to pay all, plus utilities have also given us time. So if we had to pay all those mortgages and those utilities, we wouldn't, we'd be out of business. So thankfully, we've got, those are the biggest costs for us. And with that, we can get by. I think what's going to be hard for a lot of restaurateurs, and again, we're trying to plan for this, is, we go back to full service, but it's not a full restaurant yet. People don't feel safe coming in. And then all of a sudden, all the bills start coming back. That's going to be a really difficult thing to manage. So we're starting to talk about what else, how do you put a little money aside for that period? Is there going to be, a 30-day, 60-day period that's going to be hard? I'm not sure yet. So
the ramp, I would say Nick, the best way I could put it is the ramp down was very emotional, right? And the ramp up is very strategic in business, right? Because if you don't create the ramp up properly, that's the place where you can find yourself out of business pretty fast, not the ramp down usually. I think I don't know what's your opinion on that and what's your thoughts on that.
I think what's key there is I know I've read a lot of books, and you've probably read articles about adaptability and leadership, and I gotta tell you, man, if I think it might be a little bit easier for an entrepreneur, but man, if you're a bigger company and you have a hard time adapting and changing, wow, I feel bad for you, because it's going to be, I am not, like I said, I'm pretty attached to training people first before we make a change, but I forego that attachment, because we had to adapt. My team came up with an idea around, it started with listening to our guests want to do stuff at home. So we started with a kids fun at home meal, make your own pizza at home kit. Well, then that expanded to a whole family fun at home menu. So we've added to our website this fun at home menu, and actually we added to that website. We only had 2 things on it, and we said coming soon, other things. I would never put a menu out that's not finished, but we did that, and we added to it. So,
Nick, I'm glad you brought up those 2 things. I mean, probably one of the 2 most important things, adaptability. And then I'm so glad you brought up your kids concept. I thought that was awesome. I saw that. I thought that was a great innovation, creativity. I mean, that's what Crisis has spurred. And that was a pretty awesome what you did. That was pretty neat. So Nick, I know your time's valuable. So give us, as we end here, give us something that, something that you're telling your team members, because I think everybody's got fear, right? We all have fear based on an unknown, going forward. And how are you as a leader and a cultural leader? How are you helping with that fear?
That's probably one of the most important questions. I love that. I love actually this process, what you're doing here. To me, that's a sign of your leadership. You guys are at DecisionOne, and how your team is reacting to this. That's why I'm here, is because I was interested in what you're doing in that respect as well. I mean, it's so important. What I realized, what I asked our team was like, the team that's off, how they're off of work, how are they emotionally feeling? How is their mental and emotional wellness? So what we came up with was, why don't we have a team member for each restaurant be we call the virtual party planner, liaison for each team. So that liaison for each restaurant, for each location, is actually keeping the team engaged. And that to me has been huge, because for one, their mental and emotional well-being of our team we care about. It's part of our purpose, is being the family and staying connected. And the other is, I mean, truly, when we come out of this, on the other side of this, we all want to be able to come back together again. So we want to stay connected and not lose anyone. And it's truly a challenge for each of them, because they've been asking me for ideas, because we have such a diverse work group, right? We got teenagers, we got single moms who, are really having a hard time. Oh, and Latinos, and, people who have computers, people that don't, and, how do we engage them, and, not just be more than just a text, not everybody has Zoom. So I think that's really been important, is have those, there's what you're doing here, that team liaison for each location, and really asking. I've also been exploring, like, instead of how are you, because I truly am, like, how are you, how it's kind of a throwaway term, right? It's like, what's a better question? What, so I've been also starting meetings with, what's your energy level like right now? Some really deeper, open-ended questions to start a meeting. What's one thing you're doing to help, to support your emotional well-being right now? Some good questions like that to help people, get that stress out and address it.
That's fantastic. So Nick, I really appreciate you being on here. I mean, seriously, what you guys are doing and your leadership is pretty tremendous. Of course, please, we have offices in Elgin, Cary, Crystal Lake, Woodstock. So I know Nick's is a staple. So if you can give everybody a little bit about where you guys are located, if they haven't known where you're located, where's that at?
So yeah, we have one location in Crystal Lake. The first one I built in 1995, 25 years now, is on Virginia and Pyatt Road, the south side of Crystal Lake. And then the other one is in Elgin, right on Randall and Bowes Road, almost South Elgin. And if I get a copy of this, I'll give this to my team liaison in each restaurant, and maybe some of our team will look for one of your locations as well. We could kind of cross-pollinate there.
Nick, I appreciate that very much, and I promise you, I am going to be having some Nick's Pizza today. There is no doubt about it. There is no doubt about that. Because after watching that video in the beginning, I am starving. So, Nick, thanks for being on, man. Appreciate it. All D1, we're going to start our meeting in just a minute here. But, Nick, thank you so much. Appreciate it very, very much.
Problem. Thank you. All right. Take care now.
Thank you.